I always believed weddings brought families closer. I thought love softened hearts, healed wounds, and corrected the mistakes of the past. I thought planning for my future would finally give me the place in my family I had always been denied. But I was wrong. My name is Ella, and the year I planned to marry the man I loved was the year I learned what betrayal truly felt like. My father, James, was a billionaire with a temper that walked into rooms before he did. His wealth came from decades of ruthless business choices that made him powerful, but left his children standing as two very different shadows behind him. My brother Anthony and I understood hard work, humility, and fighting for a place in the world. But my sister Chloe, she had been raised like a polished jewel everyone needed to protect. Dad spoiled her to the point where she believed the world owed her not just comfort, but admiration. Anthony and I were used to this imbalance, used to the way our father looked at Chloe as if she were a prize. But things took a darker turn when my wedding became the new battlefield. It started the afternoon I asked Dad for the wedding fund he had promised since I was 16. I walked into his office, marble floors, huge windows overlooking the city, his assistant stepping aside as if I were interrupting a sacred ritual. Dad barely lifted his eyes from the document he was signing. "Dad," I said gently, "I came to talk about the wedding budget." He leaned back, crossed his arms, and looked at me like I had asked for the moon. "Ella, I already handled it." Relief softened my shoulders. "Thank you. Did you send it directly to the planner?" "No," he said, eyes cold as stone. I gave it to Chloe. My jaw dropped. To Chloe. Why? He signed another paper, uninterested. Because she deserves it more. She's going through a tough time with her breakup. She needs a fresh start. She wants to travel and reset her life. I blinked. "Dad, that was my wedding fund." He sighed dramatically. "Ella, be reasonable. Your fiancé, Elijah, is not wealthy. He won't be able to support you the way Chloe needs support right now. Think of your sister." I felt my heart crack in a way I hadn't expected. "Dad, I've waited 10 years for this day." He shrugged. "Ella, love isn't about money. If Elijah truly cares about you, he'll understand, and I'm sure he'll find a way to contribute." I left his office with my throat burning, my pride in pieces, and my heart begging me not to cry. When I told Elijah what happened, I expected anger, or at least disappointment. Instead, he grew strangely quiet to quiet. He paced the apartment like a man deciding whether or not to jump into flames. "Elijah?" I whispered. "Say something." I'll talk to him," he finally said. A cold wave slid down my spine. "Talk to Dad. About what?" He avoided my eyes. "To ask him if he can help us. Maybe he'll reconsider if I speak to him man to man." My stomach twisted. "You want to ask him for money?" He nodded hesitantly. "Ella, I want to give you the wedding you deserve. If your dad can fund it, why shouldn't he? He's your father." He said it so simply, so confidently, as if his pride wasn't being crushed beneath those words. Something felt wrong, deeply wrong. Elijah wasn't poor. He lived simply, yes, but he never acted like a man chasing someone else's wallet. He worked long hours at the garage, saved carefully, and planned responsibly. But now he looked like someone who had been waiting for an opportunity, or maybe someone who had been pushed. I didn't know then which one it was. The full storm hit 2 days later. Anthony walked into my room with a look that made my stomach fall. He shut the door behind him, leaned against it, and exhaled. "Ella, you need to sit." Fear climbed up my spine. "What happened?" "It's about Elijah, and Dad, and Chloe." I froze. "What about them?" Anthony rubbed his forehead hard, as if trying to wipe the truth out before saying it. "I overheard them talking. Chloe and Elijah. At the garden behind Dad's house." My mouth went dry. "Talking about what?" Anthony's voice lowered. "Chloe was trying to convince Elijah to ask Dad again for the wedding money. But Ella, she wasn't just advising him." "What do you mean?" I whispered. Anthony's eyes darkened. "She told him he shouldn't settle for being poor when he has access to a billionaire family now." My heart stopped. "And Elijah," I forced out. "He didn't push her away. He didn't defend you." Anthony swallowed. "He agreed that asking Dad was the best option." The room spun. My hands went cold. Elijah, my sweet fiancé, the one who told me he loved my honesty more than my father's money, had stood with Chloe and agreed that using Dad's wealth was his path forward. "Anthony," I whispered, trembling, "are you sure?" He nodded. "Ella, that wasn't even the worst part." My chest tightened. Chloe told Elijah that he should make Dad believe you deserve a small wedding so the large fund could stay with her. I felt physically ill, she said that. Yes, Anthony clenched his jaw. She also told him that if he plays along, Dad might support him in the future, meaning financially. Everything inside me shattered. My sister had stolen my wedding fund. My father had given it away without guilt, and my fiancé was now being tempted to become part of the same toxic plan. I sank onto the edge of my bed, my eyes burning as tears spilled down without permission. Anthony sat beside me, gently pulling me into his arms. "You're not alone," he whispered. "You still have me." His words saved me that night. I spent the next day quietly watching Elijah. The way he avoided my eyes, the way he kept checking his phone messages I couldn't see, the way he looked at Dad's house when we drove past it, the way he hesitated before touching me, as if guilt lived in his fingertips. I didn't confront him, not yet. People reveal their truths fully when you stop asking questions. That evening, Elijah received a message, grabbed his coat, and told me he was going for a walk. I followed him in silence, and that was the night my life changed. I saw Elijah walk into my father's backyard, where the lights glowed softly and shadows moved between the trees, and standing there under the dim lighting was Chloe. She hugged him. He didn't push her away. He looked comfortable, at ease, familiar. I felt my heart fracturing in real time. I stepped forward, and at that moment, Elijah said the words that burned into my soul. "Chloe, I need Dad to approve. I want the money. I want our wedding to be big. Our wedding, not mine, not Ella's." Chloe, my sister. My sister who had stolen my wedding fund, and now, apparently, my fiancé felt. Everything collapsed inside me. Betrayal cut deeper than I imagined a human heart could survive. I walked out silently. I didn't scream. I didn't cry. I didn't confront them. I simply left. And that silence hurt them more than anger ever could. When Elijah returned home later that night, he found my ring on the table. I had packed my belongings, moved out, and left him with nothing but the truth he never thought I would discover. He called me. He cried. He begged. He apologized. But the moment betrayal enters a room, love dies the second it sees the truth. Dad tried to justify his choices. Chloe tried to twist the story. Elijah tried to pretend he was confused. But Anthony, my brother, he stood by me like a shield. He helped me rebuild from the inside out. He helped me stand again. He reminded me that loyalty is priceless. Months passed. Dad eventually realized Chloe had used the money for her new luxury life. She burned through it in weeks. He regretted trusting her, but regret doesn't erase damage. Elijah tried to fix things, but I never looked back. Because the day you betray me is the day I bury every version of you I once loved. And I walked away from all three of them with something stronger than revenge. Peace. I built my wedding someday, but with someone who would never sell my heart for money. Someone who loved me the way Elijah never could. Someone who stood by me like Anthony always did. And that was the day I finally understood. Betrayal doesn't break you. It reveals who truly deserves to stand beside you when life gives you everything. And none of them deserved me.